Hi guys, welcome to our Mead of the Month tasting. We're going to be tasting through our Mono Flora collection. Well, what's the Mono Flora collection?
The Mono Flora collection. So this is our, we do a Mead of the Month program in 2019.
Yeah.
So over the 12-month period we either did a single origin, a Mono Flora, or a single beekeeper mead made from the honey.
So it's all really special honey, basically.
Yeah, so we ended up getting about 10 of those together. And now we're putting 3 of our favourites of the Mono Florals together so you can get a little bit more of an idea of how these honeys change when compared to each other.
So what is a Mono Flora?
So a Mono Flora honey is usually the nectar is collected from, or the pollen is collected from one type of flora, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be 100% of that flora within it.
Sure, it's just the predominant crop.
It's a predominant crop, and different monofloras have different percentages of that flora needs to go into it to count as a monoflora. So today we're going to go through 3 of our favourites of our monofloras, which is the eucalyptus, which is, as I go, probably my favourite, as it's an Australian eucalyptus. It's amazing. The other one is borage, which is also known as English starflower. So that's quite an early season honey. So there's really quite vanilla-y and winter spicy, which is kind of cool. And then we're going to go to the acacia, which is probably one that if you've had a monoflora, it's usually acacia or orange blossom.
Which we also do.
Which we also do, yes.
Okay, so should we start off with the eucalyptus?
We should.
Should we start with the honey and then do the mead, or other way around? What do you think?
So I think that's up to you, because if you do the honey first, you're going to shock your palate with that sugar, and you're not going to be able to get the mead coming through on the first sip. So I think for us this time, usually we would actually do the honey and then slowly move through our tasting. This time we're going to taste the mead, and then we're going to taste the honey afterwards and see if we can start making some of those associations. So the reason we're doing this as well, setting out the honey with the kits, is to just to show you how honey goes through fermentation and changes, and also how it sort of impacts on the final product. So not always do you get the exact honey coming through at the end of fermentation.
So just stripping away some of those sugars and sweetness and exposing, I guess, a different element.
Yeah, so what's really cool, especially when we go to like these monofloras, is that it accentuates at least one characteristic of the honey. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at in this tasting, is what part of that honey has really come through.
Cool. Worth saying, you'd have to keep up with us. Obviously, we've got 3 bottles to open. They'll be good in the fridge for, what do you reckon, 4 or 5 days? The carbonation will
the carbonation will drop off, and you'll have a little bit of a different mead, but it won't necessarily make it a bad mead.
Sure.
It'll just be a little heavier than what it would be with carbonation.
So feel free just to hit pause whenever you need to. Otherwise, we'll just keep going.
That's it. Let's get into it.
Right. So the eucalyptus first.
No, the eucalyptus.
First. Yeah. So this is 7%.
So what we do with the Mead of the Month range too is that we use our house yeast. We ferment them all about the same way, so really realistically about the same temperature, here or there, with the same yeast strain, and we try to keep the fermentation changes out of the final product, so it's more a reflection of the honey than it is of the fermentation technique. Yeah. So with the eucalyptus.
Ooh,
I've talked about this before, and it just reminds me of breakfast,
isn't it?
Yeah. It's a little bit cereally. It's got this nice sort of eucalyptus, almost medicinal, but not quite medicinal characteristic. The honey is massive in the middle. It's got this beautiful, almost like caramel sort of texture to it.
It's that malty caramel kind of dense flavour.
And to me, I've said it before, but this reminds me of breakfast. It's like honey and oats, this sort of creamy, sort of cereally sort of characteristic that goes in there as well.
And that definitely follows through as you take the first sip. Obviously with mead, it's quite a flavour you're not necessarily familiar with, so it'll take a couple of swigs to kind of open up a little.
Yeah, you want your palate to adjust, and as we go through the varying sweetness and the varying ABVs as well, it'll just take your palate just a little while to readjust. So that second or third sip is really where you want to focus your attention on pulling the interesting parts out of the mead.
So what are you getting in this one, Will?
So on the nose, I get a little bit of wattle, get that eucalyptus, get that honey. There's also just a little bit of fruit character underneath, like a little bit of like red apple maybe.
And then moving through into the taste.
And then moving into the palate, let's give it a go. So for me at the front, the honey and the acid come together, which is quite nice. And then it sort of starts to clear its way out towards the back of the palate. And that's where you start getting these little bits of, I would say menthol. It's really quite hard to describe eucalyptus.
Yeah.
It's like in between menthol and medicinal. It's just this sort of little bit in between.
It's an interesting one.
Or at least it's got some bits from each category that sort of build it up. So it's quite unique in its characteristic. And then towards the end also you get a nice little bit of like this astringent sort of like floral flavour as well. And that's kind of that wattle, elderflowery sort of mouthfeel. You get it almost like, not perfume, but that sort of like, it's this little bit to it.
That's interesting.
So guys, this is probably a good time. Have a pause. If you're going to pause and drink the whole bottle.
How many depends? Groups of 6?
Your house.
Half a bottle each? That's not too bad, 7%.
So hit that pause, and when you come back, we'll go and have a taste through the honey, and then we'll go to the next mead.
Perfect.
So guys, that was a fun pause. I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as I did. Let's move to tasting the honey from the eucalyptus. So this is a poly-eucalyptus honey. So this is a... Tom's having trouble with the jar. This is a poly-eucalyptus, so it has lots of different versions of the eucalyptus flower in it. In Australia, we have a time of the year, whenever you want to give up, Tom, you just...
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
So, so the trees sort of pollinate around about the same time of the year, and actually most eucalyptus actually only pollinate every 2 years. So something like red gum or yellow box or something like that only flower every 2 years, which is kind of cool. It makes the honey just a little bit more special.
Sure. Is there anything I should be doing whilst I'm tasting this honey? Is there a way of doing it, or should I just bang it in my mouth?
I assume that, put some on the end of the stick. And,
I meant in terms of,
So the first bit of this honey, again, you're going to get that sweetness at the front, and that's what you need to just work through. We work with honey quite a lot, and we know that first little taste is just going to be what people call that, it tastes like honey.
Yeah.
And that's what that sugar and acid balance together, and that mouthfeel and creaminess that you get from honey. Then on that second go, you're really going to get just a little bit more of the honey characteristic come through.
I'm using either end of the stick, so I'm not double dipping.
That's it.
Just say... Yes, I'm picking up some elements from the mead in that. So some of those menthol leaves are a little bit spicy actually. It's a little bit of spice.
What's really cool about this is it's actually reduced that mentholness. And I guess that's because we've mixed it with water as well during the fermentation.
Just made it less
to the way
concentrated.
through that. But in the honey you can really get those characteristics on a 100-fold scale.
Yeah.
It's everything that's in that bottle. There's a little bit of cereal in there, there's a little bit of that spicy note, there's a little bit of floral sort of quality in there as well. All those things carry across to the mead, and it's actually just a little lighter in the mead and a little bit more enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. Right, so guys, again, if you need to pause, feel free to. Otherwise, we'll be moving on to the next mead.
We will. See you guys then. And we're back.
Well, what is the next mead?
So the next mead we're going to go is the Acacia. So Acacia is talking about wattle and...
What is wattle?
So wattle is a variation of Acacia for Australia.
Oh,
so we have a wattle tree, yeah.
No, so I know it from wattle and daub. You know walls out of? No. Traditional sticks and mud.
It's another one of those stories for another time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
If you want to hear that story, jump in there, send us an email.
Well,
and
just give us a call. I always answer the Gosnells phone, so
yeah.
I'm always here.
So the Acacia is next. So what we did with the Acacia is we bumped up the ABV just a little bit. So we went up to about 7.5.
This is again with the house yeast, right?
This is again with the house
yeast.
yeast.
The most you can get that's probably 8 or 9%.
Yeah, I usually say keep it between about 3 and 8% to get the real quality. And we've done a couple a little bit higher with it, and it's not that I won't do it. It just starts to get a little angry about it, and a lot more sort of unpredictable at the higher ABV.
Yeah, sure.
So the Acacia is something that's really cool. The honey itself is always just such a nice, clean, sweet honey. It reminds me of like boiled lollies, and it's got a little bit of this citrus note to it as well. It's a very simple honey, so that's why we want to keep the ABV quite high instead of dropping it down to 5 or 6. We really want the alcohol to really carry through the flavour. So what we're going to do with this one, we're going to go the other way. Tom, we're going to
you do the honey first.
We're going to do the honey first.
Let's see if I can open this one.
And I'll see if I can open this bottle.
Oh, I was going to ask you if you got a bottle opener.
Always ready.
Right.
So
yeah.
Since we've just gone honey, I thought we'd go back to honey again.
Yeah, so it's not that way to do it.
We've already shocked our palate, so it'd be actually a good chance just to get that flavour of the. And this will really showcase the difference between these two honeys.
So I would say it's a lot honeyed. It's a lot more honeyed, if that makes sense. It's sweeter, got more golden syrup notes.
Yeah.
Not treacle, but like classic golden
Yeah,
syrup.
and it's got this sort of creaminess, and it's quite short in the honey as well.
Yeah.
So compared to the eucalyptus, but you get all those nice sort of long flavours coming in at the back, and it's really quite interesting. This is actually more all your flavour in the fore palate, and then that sort of nice cleaning up with the sugar and the acid at the back of the palate. That's why Acacia is probably one of the most commonly used honeys, is because it just has this honey-esque sort of character to it, and people really associate with it.
Sure. So and then on the nose, what are we getting? Oh yeah, you dried this one out, haven't you? I can smell it.
Just a little bit. So as it goes, they're probably. Well, they've probably got the same honey bill. They do have the same honey bill.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit, another 0.5 in alcohol. So it means we've just lost a little bit.
But yeah, it smells a lot. There's a lot more alcohol coming through on the nose than the previous one.
It's super clean. There's
Yeah.
it smells like our house yeast, which has got this nice apple sort of pear characteristic going on with it. You're picking out a little bit of florality. There's also a little bit of like stone fruit and a little bit of peach for me as well. Like I know peach is a stone fruit, but it's a little bit more peachy of the stone fruit sort of side.
Yeah, and then on the palate, it's, as you said, just a couple of points drier. So and it carries a bit better. I get more red fruits on the palate, actually.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm still trying to work through because it tastes a lot dry now that we've had it after the honey as well.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm just going to let my palate just because there's something really cool in there.
I mean, this is the good stuff, isn't it? You can tell.
This
you
is
taste through this range. It is the good stuff.
I forgot how good the Acacia is. So like we mainly focus on all these varying honeys, and some of them are really, really intense, like the heather and even like some of the London honeys, they get these nice sort of floral notes coming through and these herbaceous sort of qualities, where this is super simple, super clean, nice and sweet, but not sweet in the sense of like stick to your mouth, sugar in the liquid sweet. It's just got a sweet element to it.
I could drink loads of that.
That's probably one, If I was going out, sitting in the park, and I was going to drink a bottle to myself, it'd probably be the Acacia. Super cold. I quite like it cold. It just sort of brings everything in, and it's got a little bit of a summer element to it. Nicely carbonated as well, which sort of lifts that quality.
So guys, as we're going through this, if you want to let us know what you think of each of them, we'd love to get any feedback. But otherwise, you can hit pause, and then we'll get going with the final mead, which is the Borage. Guys, welcome back. We're on to the Borage now. So let's do the mead, then the honey. Finish on the honey?
Yeah, let's finish on that.
Yeah.
So Borage, as I said before, is also known as English starflower. So
it's like a tall herb with loads of flowers.
Yeah,
it's like it grows like a weed, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's definitely got flowers on it, and it's definitely some kind of bush. The flowers actually have got like a little yellow centre with white sort of star, pointed star coming out the side, hence the English starflower. So what's really, really cool about this honey is that it's got this vanilla sort of character to it. It's got this winter spice, this nutmeg and this cinnamon.
It's got an amazing colour as well. Look at how the difference in colour between the bottles.
Yeah, and this is on other than the eucalyptus, like the Acacia and the Borage could, if you were to sit them side by side in the actual honey, you look at it and go, oh, they're pretty similar, and depending on, of course, where you get your honey from, because they vary sort of, year to year and apiary to apiary. Let's open up this Borage, and then we'll have a taste.
Yeah.
Any Borage anecdotes, Tom?
Any borage anecdotes? I don't think I've ever tasted borage, you know. It's one of those things that crops up and bees absolutely love it.
Yeah, they
It's
go mad
not
for it.
used. No, I don't have any borage anecdotes, but
Cool.
thanks for putting me on the spot.
Not a problem. This is what we do here.
Yeah.
Like to challenge each other.
I've had lovage before. They're quite similar looking plants.
See, I only know Lovage as the band.
I'm not cool enough to know about lovage band. With a thrash method.
No, the weird. Like story for another time. If you want to hear about Lovage, just.
Just give us an email. Right. So obviously the colour on this is.
Yeah, and you can see that little bit of cloud. So this is 6% as well. So we've dropped the ABV just a little bit and really allowed that honey to shine, because this is one of those honeys that's really cool, really interesting. So we lowered the ABV and just allowed that honey to come through.
If I said this had a bubblegum note, would you be offended?
Slightly, yes.
Okay. So it doesn't have a bubblegum note, but it has. Oh, I can't. That's. It's like lavender, not lavender, or lilac, or
Yeah.
basically it tastes.
Purple.
It smells mauve.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. It smells mauve.
Yeah. No, I see.
It's like love hearts.
It's got this sort of winter element to it as well, and if you really give it a go, you almost get that sort of rounded sweetness of nutmeg in there. You know, nutmeg versus cinnamon. Nutmeg to me has got a little bit more of this sweet barky earthiness to it as well. Hitting onto the palate, it feels a lot drier than the Acacia.
It does, but it isn't, is it?
It isn't, no. It's around. It's probably about exactly the same as the Acacia, and a little bit drier than the Eucalyptus.
It's thinner, right?
It's a little thinner.
Sorry, as in it's not.
And that's what the alcohol does as well. So the alcohol just allows those flavours to carry through. So you drop the alcohol a little bit, and everything else has a chance to sort of shine.
I mean, that's delicious as well.
And
what's really cool about it, I guess, these three is they're quite different styles, and it's all about showing that journey from bee to bottle well.
And this is probably the most fun that we can have as brewers as well. When you get these honeys in and you put them through these fermentation processes and keep that sort of nice and scientific and keep that process really
just vary one
one thing and see how it comes out. Now, when this hits your palate as well, it is like a fruit bomb. Like this is, comparing to the other two, it's apple, it's pear, it's citrus, it's a little bit of vanilla in the back. Those spice notes aren't really there in the palate as they are in the nose, but they are there. They are there.
Ah, it's delicious. Delicious. Should we give the honey a whirl?
We should give the honey a whirl. So I'm a bit of a practical joker myself, so I glued all the jars shut. So what you're seeing is actually Tom tearing apart Gorilla Glue.
We've only got a limited amount of time. You don't want to sit here and watch me.
There we go.
I loosened it, didn't I?
It definitely wasn't as tight.
Oh, so this honey's crystallised. I mean, there's no difference between crystallised honey and running honey, is there?
So I got a mouthful of honey. No, it doesn't change anything to it. And if you put a little bit of heat to it, that crystallization will go away.
Because honey's an amorphous liquid, so it forms those crystals, and as it settles out, it's a time thing. So that all those chemicals are just fitting into their bonds over time. So once you heat it, you just
break all that.
Glass is also amorphous.
Glass, as in silicon and.
As in window glass. That's why old windows are fatter at the bottom than the top, because they flow over time.
Oh, really?
There you go. Anyway,
always learning.
Always learning. Anyway, so the borage honey.
So the borage honey. First is, I know it's a weird thing to say, but just smelling it, it just smells vanilla-y to me.
It's got those kind of creamy spices. Oh, it's
really and that's
creamy.
when you go against the Acacia, it's just, it sticks.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes through in the body as well.
That's good.
And this is what we love to do.
Exactly.
So guys,
thanks a lot for joining us. Let us know what your favourite was. If you want to hear more about any of the stories we've been telling, do let us know as well.
100%. I have them all written out. They're ready to go. Just have to hit send.
Anyway, guys, thanks very much. Speak to you later.
Enjoy.